That means in Islam, whatever that has been taught to us, whatever that our parents have taught us, good things, and we share with others or we teach our own children, our parents will get the blessings and rewards.
Yes, correct. And it continues every time the next generation, next people practice.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Season 2 of Tune Islam, a podcast for Singapore Muslim millennials on Islamic faith, love and happiness. Here's where we share spiritual guidance and exchange practical insights to inspire positivity and uplift our well-being. My name is Azzah Fariha and I will be your host for today. Today with us, we have Ustaz Hafiz from the Asatiza Youth Network. He is a Senior Executive Youth Development Officer at Masjid Ma'ruf, a graduate of Yarmouk University in Jordan, and also a Madrasah Al-Junaid Al-Islamiyah alumnus. He is also the co-founder of Incline Arts, an online Islamic calligraphy business, and he is particularly passionate about listening and interactive and engaging the youth. Assalamualaikum Ustaz. Thank you for joining us today.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we are going to first start by imagining. All right, try to remember, when was the last time we made beautiful memories with our parents? Are we still making beautiful memories with them today? I think that's the thing about us human beings. We tend to forget sometimes. We know how important it is to be dutiful to our parents, but sometimes we don't remember until it's too late. So today we'll talk about what Islam says about filial piety and how to nurture our relationship with our parents over time through the different stages in life, and especially when conflicts between ourselves and our parents get in the way. You know, Ustaz, our parents are the most important thing, right, in our lives. They brought us into this world. They raised us. They supported us to become who we are today. And now it's our turn to take care of them. Because we know in Islam it's very important to be a filial piety. But sometimes we also may want to be independent and self-sufficient. So how can we maintain a balance in an Islamic way? Can you share with us a little bit more about that, Ustaz?
InsyaAllah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. That's a very good question and very a true question that we always, or some of the young people may face in their life, right? Especially me or everyone else, right? So before I go deeper on how we can balance ourselves and, you know, focusing ourselves, our own individual's needs and also our parents, I would like to share a few pointers, alright, regarding the foundation about treating goodness and kindness to our parents. Alright, there's no doubt that treating our parents good with love, care, one of the few main important things in Islam. Alright, is the second thing that he reminded us after worshipping Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Right, so when it comes to this matter, it's really important and significant, and meaning that there is a reward when we try to do it, and also at the same time there are also punishment when we do not obey it. Alright, so it's mentioned in Surah An-Nisa verse 36 that that's the second important thing about treating our parents. The most important thing when treating our parents. Okay, and how do we be balanced about it? Is of course it's always a struggle. Right, it's a struggle that everyone may feel or are going through. Right, regardless of status, regardless of people, the moment or the fact that they are adulting is something that they are trying to figure out themselves. Right, while they are focusing on themselves, they will also have parents at home, you know, need the care from us and so on. How to deal and be balanced about it is for sure that our self are much more important as well. So we need to take care of our own self. Firstly, that's our own priority. Okay, and then after we manage to find things and trying to figure out how we can move forward in dealing with and ensure that everyone's needs are taken care of. Right, so one of it, for example, we can share the roles with our siblings. Right, we can take turns how we can, you know, for today, for example, a brother should accompany the father to the appointment, for example, and then the next day the sister and so on. So at least the responsibilities are shared, and also the responsibilities to our parents are met.
Just now you mentioned, Ustaz, that also the way we speak to our parents or how we care for them, not just in cases where we need to bring them for appointments, but how do we ensure that the way we speak to them, or sometimes our parents are a bit older, we know how they are, what their characteristics are, and sometimes we tend to, when we see them calling, like we are outside, we are with our friends, for example, and then we will tend to ignore the call first, because you know why? I don't want to talk to my mom now because I'm out with my friends and I want to have fun, and I don't want to be dampened by what she says, because sometimes she says some negative things to me, I don't want to spoil my mood. So how do we combat this?
I think there's no doubt that answering our parents' call over the things that we are doing is important, and also is the ideal way lah. The ideal way of dealing things with our parents. But realistically, sometimes we just get over in us. We are too occupied with our work, for example, our studies, revision, exams, with our friends and so on. But that's the thing. As long as we have a good communication with our parents, it's okay to set boundaries. So for example, if you know that you are going to be busy that week, you can inform your parents so this week I'm going to be busy, I'm having my retreat and so on. It's all started on how we actually forge the relationship with our parents. Is it, we need to update them time to time, or they constantly need us to text them. So it depends on each family and their culture. But as long as we do not neglect them at all, we talk to them politely, we seek permission politely and so on, I think we can strike a balance in that sense lah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's also when we were being brought up, this character that our parents want from us was not shown to us, or was not taught to us how to do this. So how do we communicate with our parents to tell them, or you don't even teach me how to show you love, but then you expect me? I think that's where communication with our parents are not stable, because there's a difference in mentality and communication between us.
Correct.
So what do you advise for people who are in this same situation? What is your advice to them?
Okay. These little things, for example, like you said just now, wishing or saying I love you, or wishing happy birthday, celebrate birthdays. Growing up, I'm not that exposed to those culture. But right now, at this age, my parents would ask me, hey, why don't we go celebrate? Why don't we, cut cake and so on? But that's the thing, it's not exposed to us.
Yes,
so it's a constant thought lah. But for me personally, right now, especially where we are at the age where we can think rationally and wisely, since that we already realize and aware of the things that might help our parents to be happy and feel happy about themselves. I think the least that we can do is to be present, and try our best to make them happy in any ways lah. That's the ultimate goal that we want to achieve, pleasure from our parents, so that we can get Allah's pleasure as well.
Thank you, Ustaz. Thanks for sharing with us. Maybe the next question that I would like to ask you, Ustaz, is how does Islam teach us to connect with our parents? Not just on a physical level, for example, like you mentioned just now, bringing them to appointments and spending some time with them. But what else can we do as a family? Or, for example, if we are married already with kids, we are staying in different houses, what kind of efforts can we take to make sure we still connect with them?
Yeah, again, this matter is subjective. Okay, different family practice differently and so on. So generally on our end, we should identify what's the best for our own families, right? So for example, the least we can do, right, and this is something that the Prophet ﷺ highly recommend us, which is to pray in congregants. We be it in masjid or be it in our own home. Then the least that we can do is maybe once a week or once a month to visit them, to check in with them, how are they doing, or by video call and so on. Right, so there's a lot of platform and means that we can stay connected.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think also because a lot of us, especially people who are around my age, we already moved out of our parents' house. We have our own family.
Yeah, so in that sense, it gets harder and harder to strike a balance. The fact that we are still contributing and being a filial son to our parents, right? There's a reward behind that. There's a promise behind that.
Can you share with us what reward this is when we take care of parents like this?
Okay, so for example, no doubt that the Prophet ﷺ said, treating our parents kindness, right, is one of the few keys to enter the paradise, and also to attain Allah's pleasure, because Allah's pleasure is based on our parents' pleasure. Right, so these little things, regardless how busy we are, how occupied we are, the least that we can do is try to ensure that the basic responsibilities are met to our parents.
Ustaz, just now when we shared, you mentioned a little bit about how we can treat our parents with respect and honor. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Okay, so there's a few verses in the Quran that mention or give us the guidelines on how we can treat our parents. So for example, in Surah Al-Isra verse 23, Allah acknowledged that our parents will come to an age where they will age weak and so on, old and so on. Okay, so at this moment of time, okay, Allah SWT remind us to not first is to treat with ihsan, with kindness, and to talk them with goodness, with gentleness. Okay, so in this verse, He mentioned, "Fala taqul lahuma uff." So just by the say or uff here means literally in our language means like Alright, so those little remarks that we say or we utter towards our parents when they talk to us or when they comment to us, that one phrase itself actually can affect our relationship with our parents. Right? So, and then again, he continue, وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا, and to say to them with kindness. So these are the few guidelines. First, to treat with kindness, to say good things, to not disobey them, okay, to not raise our voice, okay, and to talk to them politely. Right, so these are a few guidelines that in the Quran mentioned that we can portray and try to practice in our own daily life. But for sure, to practice it literally, it might be hard on some cases. So again, like I said previously, in any ways in our own capabilities, try our best to at least meet the basic requirements, okay, so that the responsibilities are met. Yeah.
I have a curious question, Ustaz. What is the hukum for like when, for example, when we complain to our friends about how our parents are condescending or, like their characteristic is something that we don't like. What is the hukum for something that we do like this? Because I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of this.
Correct. Including myself. Yeah. Okay, for me in this case, it depends on what is our intention when telling that stories to our friends, to our colleagues and so on. There's no doubt that the feeling that you are feeling is valid. Okay, it is valid. Okay, whatever feelings that you feel, okay, the struggle, the stress, the tightness that you feel is valid. Yeah. Okay, and it is okay to share that with our own friends, our close friends. Okay, so again, like I said, what is the purpose? What is the intention when we tell our friends? So yes, you can let out from your chest to say things, to rant to them. Okay, at the same time, instill that little intention of you when you tell that story. It is to seek advice. Okay, because we want to share our own experiences, because there are a few friends that are facing similar situation. So when we share to them, okay, they may say something or they may advise something that we yet to practice and try to do. Okay, because ultimately what we want is to be a good to our parents, correct? So regardless of ways, okay, regardless of means and platforms, when we share these stories to our partners or to our colleagues, to our friends, okay, instill the intention that we actually want the best. We want answers. We want guidance
to
from
make ourselves better.
Correct. Right. So again, it's okay to share that. Okay, but if you still feel guilty, then maybe you can say istighfar and so on, or try to do good after that. And so on. Yeah.
Okay. So we kasih balik.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. Thank you, Ustaz. So what else can we do to make sure that we show our kindness to them, Ustaz, our parents?
Correct. I think that's a very good question. Okay, for example, there are some people cannot reciprocate whatever kindness that the parents did to them because of past, because of trauma, bitter experience and so on. So, but low-key, that person, that son or that daughter know that they should respect and show honor to the parents, but they just can't. They cannot say it verbally. They cannot watch in the eye and so on.
Yes.
So what can be done, right? So firstly, there are a few practices that we can do. So firstly, no doubt that by praying for them. Okay, it's mentioned in Surah Isra again, verse 24, and Allah SWT, remind us to pray for them mercy as much as how they show us mercy in the early days. Right? Regardless, for sure there are moments that our parents show kindness to us, show gentleness to us. So in that sense, we are responsible to show back and to reciprocate that kindness when we grow up. So by saying good things or by praying good things behind our parents' back, that's the least we can do.
That means we doa for our
Yes,
parents
correct,
to be
correct. Yeah.
better.
And
than
another narration, okay, when we pray someone behind their back, right, the angels actually would pray the same for us. We want good things for our parents, so we pray behind their back in the hope that that prayer that we make go back to us. Okay, that's number one. Number two is to practice any kind of goodness that our parent taught us. Okay, to practice and to share. Okay, to expose or to show that kindness. Okay, in anything. So for example, our parent taught us to fold a cloth. That's a good thing, correct? And every time we practice that, we instill the intention that our parents taught us, that action actually can produce reward for our parents. Yeah, so in that sense, it can kind of show our love and respect to our parents.
That means in Islam, whatever that has been taught to us, whatever that our parents have taught us, good things, and we share with others or we teach our own children, our parents will get the blessings and rewards.
Yes, correct. And it continues every time the next generation, next people practice.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, so that kind of actually low-key show our love to our parents. Because if you do not love our parents, what
We
for we
won't
practice?
share.
Correct.
Correct,
Yeah, we won't
correct.
share, we won't talk about it, we won't do that action. Because we know that low-key, even though it hurts, low-key we want goodness for them. We want to respect them.
Correct.
But these are the little things that we can do at the moment of time within my capabilities. And this is something that not people say by words. It's actually mentioned in the Quran. Okay, so Allah SWT mentioned in Surah An-Nisa verse 36, وَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and so on. So in this verse, as mentioned just now in the early part, where treating our parents with goodness and kindness is the second important thing after worshipping Allah SWT. So in that sense, the connection, when the reason why Allah put worshipping Allah and treating our parents, it shows that treating our parents is the second important thing and it highly significant, right? Because if we worship Allah, if we do goodness to Allah, but at the same time we do not do good things to our parents, then it just contradicts, correct? Because as I mentioned just now, Allah's pleasure is based on the parents' pleasure. So regardless of our ibadah, regardless of how many good things that we do, but at the end of the day, if we do not obey our parents, then it just contradicts and it doesn't align with what Allah SWT command us.
Hi, welcome to Tune Out. Here's where we stop, take a breather, and reflect. Hang on a minute, I am making for my mom her favorite homemade iced tea because her love language is acts of service. My love language? Quality time. Do you know your parents' love language? Okay, Ustaz, I nak share a little bit about my own personal experience. I have lived with my parents for a very long time until I got married. My husband moved in with me for another 2 years. So I have lived with my parents for a bulk of time.
Correct.
And after I moved out and we had our own place, we had our own children and all that, I started to feel that the relationship between me and my parents are not as strong anymore because we don't see each other every day. We are busy with our own work. My parents are still working and I'm busy with my work and taking care of my children, my own family. So the connection between us is not as strong anymore. The parent-child communication and relationship between us is weak. How do we navigate around this? How do we solve this problem?
I think for me personally, there's no actual solution to this problem. It's always going to happen. Something that we need to accept and acknowledge that is part and parcel of life. We will somehow one day get busy, get occupied, and we tend to so-called slip off by not, connecting with our parents, especially when our parents are retired and so on. Try to identify what's best and can accommodate to your needs, to the surrounding factors and so on. The least is to stay connected, to be kind to our parents, and to understand their perspective, be gentle to them. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So one of the things that I can make an effort to do is to bring my children to have a sleepover at the grandparents' house, for example, so that they can spend enough time with with their grandparents, my parents, so that the connection is still there. So even though we are busy, but there is still they know who their grandparents are, what their
Yes.
grandparents are like, what they like and all that. And my next question is, there are some groups of people who are not as lucky to have a healthy relationship with their parents from young. That means they have a strained relationship, they have a bitter experience, traumatic maybe even, but they still want to put in an effort because, as you mentioned just now, deep in our hearts, we know that we want to do good for them. We want good things for our parents. So if we already have such a barrier with our parents, how can we combat that?
Correct.
How can we get over that?
When we want to do goodness, when we want to respect our parents, okay, we do all of that not to get credits, not to get acknowledgement from our parents, but ultimately we want Allah's pleasure. We do all of these things is for Him, for Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. We want the rewards. We want whatever that He promised us, which is the paradise. Try our best to still be kind, be good, be gentle to our parents, regardless of how they
feel.
respond to us. But again, do the best that we can within our capabilities, and then we leave the rest to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala.
Sometimes it's a bit easier to say, but not
Correct.
very easy to do. Right, Ustaz? Are there any hadith, for example, that states or gives examples of what the Prophet or any other stories that we can learn from with regards to this kind of situation, Ustaz?
There are a few narration. Okay, there's a story in the hadith where the son would want to go to battle with the Prophet SAW. Okay, and in that sense, the Prophet SAW asked him whether if he has a parent, okay, at home that still live with him. Then he said yes. Okay, and in that sense, the Prophet SAW asked him to not go for the battle because the real battle for you is to take care of your parents. Regardless of what we do, serving our parents at any moments will be the priority. Okay, that will be the priority. Serving our parents and attend to them, attend to their needs is a main priority on top of everything. Again, we come back to our religion's value and teachings, which is to practice rahmah, to practice patience, okay, and gentleness, especially to our parents. Okay, because generally, whatever the Prophet ﷺ taught us, okay, which is to reciprocate goodness, okay, in anything that we do. So, for example, looking back at the history, the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he tried to convey Islam to the community, he always received backlash. He always received bad things. He was beaten up and so on. But what he do? He did not reciprocate with bad things, with violence. He did not, although he might have the capability and will to pray to Allah so that Allah will destroy this community that beat the Prophet ﷺ. But in that matter, the Prophet ﷺ still have patience, continue his effort, and let Allah do the rest. So, in any case, practicing rahmah, practicing kindness, goodness, gentleness is the basic values of Islam, regardless of how bad we were treated from our parents, from our friends, our colleagues, and so on. To show goodness, to show kindness, this is the main thing. Be the bigger person. We know that this is all a challenge for us, an obstacle for us. We become the better person. We become the big person here in this scenario. Okay, and try our best to show kindness, to do goodness within our own capabilities. But if it affect your safety and so on, then do the necessary things lah. But at the same time, okay, I understand and I get it that this journey, this experience might get into you. You might feel lonely. You might feel alone. You might feel that no one understand you and so on. And that's why the important part of talking it out to our friends, to our partners and so on would
really
be helpful.
helps.
Yeah.
So, Ustaz, we try our best to do what we can, and we try to hold it in because we want to make sure that we do good to our parents before it's too late. And when I say too late, I mean in cases where one of our parents has passed away, for example. What more can we do to make sure that they are rewarded?
Okay, so for sure, number one is pray. Because there's a hadith that Prophet ﷺ said, when son of Adam passed on, there are three things that will help that person in the grave. One of it is a filial son pray for the parents.
When you say pray for the parents, that means you
Doa.
perform solat or you doa for your parents.
We doa for our parents.
Yes.
Okay, we say our supplication for our parents. Okay, be it in solat or outside solat. Okay, so what we can do at this moment as a son, as a daughter, try our best to be good, so that we can get that title of a filial, so that whenever that we pray for our parents, it will be granted. Okay. Secondly is sadaqah jariyah, which is a continuous charity. Okay, so be it charity that from our parents or which we donate on our parents' name. Okay, and last but not least is a beneficial knowledge. That's why I said earlier. Okay, anything that we practice from our parents, any knowledge, any information that we practice from our knowledge, every time we do, every time we share, and people do and follow and continue, the reward will still continue passed down to our parents. For me personally, what I do is I would use any of my late mom's item, the sejadah, the book, and so on. But I instill the intention of sedekah. So I instill that these things are a sedekah from my late mom to me. So hopefully, in return, everything that I use and I do based on these items, you will get reward.
I'm sorry to hear that you have lost your mom, Ustaz. It's good though that you have shared with us what people in the same position and situation as you can do or what more they can do. So we have covered 3 things. We can make dua for them, we can derma or sedekah for them, and we can also use their items or pass down any knowledge that they have passed to us, so that they can get the rewards based on our actions. Am I correct?
Correct.
MashaAllah, there's so much to ponder on for this topic, Ustaz. From the beginning, we have talked about our parents. Until the end, we talked about the afterlife and all that. A lot of insightful advice. Thank you, Ustaz, for your empathetic and compassionate advice on how we can improve our relationship with our parents. A lot of us can learn from what you have shared with us today. Thank you so much for listening. So if you like this episode, follow Tune Islam, share and stay tuned for more. Assalamualaikum.